Now, I know I already made a video with this title for Game Week 4, but plenty has changed already. So I thought I'd do a little update to players to buy and avoid for Game Week 4. The first thing I wanted to look at was just some statistics, goals and clean sheet odds basically for each fixture in Game Week 4 according to Fantasy Football Hub. I thought this would be a useful metric to look at. I'm not going to go through every team because it'd take ages, but you can pause it if you want to look at every team, their sort of goals, well, projected goals and clean sheet odds for their respective fixtures. But I thought I'd focus on the standouts, and thankfully Fantasy Football Hub have already color coded. If you want to see this kind of data for yourself, by the way, there's a link to sign up for Fantasy Football Hub in the description. I'll get you 50% off. So the teams, I guess, to look at in a bit more detail. Man City, right? They're projected to score 2.3 goals and are 48% likely to keep a clean sheet against Brentford at the Etihad. I'd say those odds look pretty good, right? So Man City, probably worth looking at their players in targeting. Liverpool as well, 2.23 projected goals against Nottingham Forest. I would say Nottingham Forest probably a little bit more solid defensively than Brentford. Forest, under Nuno at least, being a bit more of a, I guess, defensive first team, if that's the right way to say things. But Liverpool haven't conceded a goal yet this season. They're 48% to keep a clean sheet. Brighton, who are actually about to embark on quite a nice fixture run, 47% to keep a clean sheet against Ipswich. I would actually suggest that the likes of Lewis Dunk and Verbruggen, who appears to be the first choice Brighton goalkeeper, are genuinely pickable options now, considering the fixture run they're about to go on. And the other highlighted team is Chelsea, 2.33 projected goals against Bournemouth away. Nicholas Jackson is looking pretty decent for them. Obviously, Cole Palmer too, Madueke. I mean, I don't know. Outside of Palmer and Jackson at the moment, I'm not sure there are any attackers from Chelsea you could back to play, most of the games even. So, yeah, there's limited players, I guess, to target from Chelsea, but they are a team that are performing well from an attacking perspective. The first thing I wanted to talk about was just João Pedro in general. So he was a late addition to the Brazil international squad. And just a bit of interesting news about how that kind of setup lies. So Brazil play Paraguay, 1:30 a.m. UK time on Wednesday. The flight from where the game is happening to Brighton, if that is how he goes, is 16 hours long. And then Brighton plays, we just saw they play Ipswich on Saturday afternoon. So, that's a pretty tight turnaround in terms of travel. I don't know if anyone watching this has been on a 16-hour flight, right? But they are tiring, right? You get off that plane feeling awful. And then he's got a game on Saturday afternoon. So just one thing to bear in mind there. And as well as that, just with the sheer amount of attacking options that Brighton have, right? Ruta, Mitoma, Idingra, I think he's still there. Who else is there? There's just, without going into too much detail, there's so many Brighton attackers, right? Evan Ferguson, Danny Welbeck, Minter, they have so many attacking players. I was struggling to get them out then. So you'd ask the question, a João Pedro that's been on that journey for the international break, is he going to really be expected to play that Game Week 4 fixture against Ipswich? I just asked the question. And then one other bit of news we've had last night, because Brazil played, João Pedro didn't actually get on the pitch. So, at least he's not injured. He didn't get any minutes in that game, so he's been spared. And, I guess fingers crossed for owners, he doesn't get too many minutes in the next game as well. But yeah, just keeping you updated on the João Pedro situation. With that in mind, one of the players I've been really liking the look of this season, and last to be fair, is Wissa of Brentford. I know he comes in probably now, I think it's 0.6 more expensive than João Pedro. Might be a little bit less, might be a little bit more. So he's not quite the exact same price. But I do think that Wissa is one of the best value forwards in the game. And one thing I think you can safely say about Wissa over João Pedro is that when he's fit, he's going to be starting for Brentford, right? And I think he's probably one of the best value forwards in the game. It is just unfortunate that the fixture we're saying, we're worried about for João Pedro playing being Game Week 4. Wissa unfortunately has Man City at the Etihad, which is honestly one of the hardest fixtures you can ask for. But in general, I do think his minutes are more secure than João Pedro's will be. And also, when you look at the fixtures that Wissa's got coming up, right? You can even start it from Game Week 5, sorry. I showed Brentford's fixtures from Game Week 6 there. But Tottenham away in Game Week 5 is a fixture where Brentford could quite easily score a goal, right? And then the fixtures from 6 onwards, from an attacking perspective at least, for Brentford, I think are really good. West Ham, Wolves, Man United, Ipswich, Fulham, Bournemouth, Everton, Leicester. those are all games where you could genuinely see Brentford scoring. And yeah, just looking at a comparison between João Pedro and Wissa, I personally like players in FPL that you can guarantee to play every game. And I think Wissa ticks that box for Brentford now, particularly with Tony leaving. I just think he's going to play every game he's fit for. And he's also, Mbumo is I'm not even going to talk about Mbumo in this video because, it's kind of obvious he's a good player to target. He's getting all the love in terms of, Brentford attention at the moment. But from open play, with obviously Mbumo being the free kick and penalty taker for Brentford, from open play, Wissa is statistically better for expected returns per 90. So just one thing to bear in mind there. I think he's a really good option once they get Man City out of the way. Now, I'm probably going to get some stick for this because I've mentioned him in the previous 2 game weeks as a player that, well, unfortunately got ill. You can't really control or expect players to get ill, right? But it did appear that Foden was, physically ready for game week 2 to play, but it's just unfortunate that he got ill. He's not here. I think he believed he withdrew from the England team. So he's getting a rest over the international break, recovering from that illness that kept him out for game weeks 2 and 3. And then he should be back for game week 4. And I think when he is, he's quite simply one of the best and most prolific players in the Man City squad, right? Alvarez is gone. Bob is injured. I think this could be good for Foden's minutes. I don't know if anyone's seen Man City play recently, but Jeremy Doku's been playing on the right most of the time and been pretty disappointing, to be honest. And I think there's a big gaping hole in that position for Phil Foden to fill, to be honest. And one thing I would say when you look at, the best Man City midfielders in the game, which I would say are probably Phil Foden and Kevin De Bruyne, per 90 for returns, Kevin De Bruyne is probably a little bit better than Foden because he just gets so many more assists. But actually, you don't necessarily want a player in FPL that gets loads of assists. You want a player that scores goals because, particularly for midfielders, goals are far more points bearing than assists. And Foden is going to score more goals in my mind than Kevin De Bruyne is. He did that last season, right? 19 goals in the Premier League last season. And I just think he's going to be low owned amongst engaged managers. So what I would probably do, because he is quite open and honest about players in his press conferences, Pep will give an update, I believe, on Foden. I think his press conference will be Thursday, Friday. He will give an update as to whether Foden is ready to play in that press conference. And if he's fit and ready to go, I think Foden could be a great option. And, I'm expecting most of the people to be watching this video to be considered engaged managers, right? And engaged managers are going to be your competition in FPL. And a lot of engaged managers do not have Phil Foden at the moment. I don't think anyone who you would call engaged in the game right now has Phil Foden because obviously he's missed the first 3 game weeks. So if you want to go a bit differential with a player that's actually, a proven multi-season Premier League goal scorer, I think Phil Foden could be a really nice option for you. Now, another Man City player that's attracted a lot of attention recently is Rico Lewis. He's up now to 4.7 million, but I still think you can class him at that price as a cheap defender, right? And I would say definitely he is the best cheap defender in FPL when he plays. That's the big question with Lewis, and we'll get onto that in a second. And also, just noticing the way Man City have set up when they have played, and both he and Guardiola have been in the team. Last season, for example, it was Guardiola and Walker as the fullbacks, and Guardiola was the inverted fullback that would push up the pitch and attack. And Kyle Walker was the one sitting back being a bit more defensive. But with Lewis on the team at right back and Guardiola at left back, the opposite roles are happening. So Guardiola is the one that is playing deeper, and Rico Lewis is the inverted fullback that's getting forwards. And at time, he is most times actually, he's more advanced than the Man City midfield. He is the second, most forward playing player to Haaland. So, all of those things for Lewis are looking good. But I would say in terms of cons, he is away for international duty for England, right? And I think he's going to get some good minutes for England. So that carries with it a little bit of risk of getting injured, of course, and not getting a rest. Whereas Kyle Walker, who is his competition for that right back position, he's not in the England team. He's not in the England squad. So he's getting 2 weeks off, working at the Man City training ground, getting back ready, fit, ready to go for Pep Guardiola, right? So I would ask the question, could Kyle Walker be the one that starts in Game Week 4 and potentially Lewis gets saved for the Champions League? Just something to bear in mind, I think his run of being completely safe, 100% starting in the team, pre-international break, is kind of over for Lewis now. I think that's when that kind of, those first 3 fixtures, you could pretty much guarantee after how well he played in the first one that he was going to play the other 2. But now I think Walker will come back into the fray. He's going to be fit again and ready to go. Champions League football mixed in as well. Yeah, I think Lewis's minutes could be reduced a bit. So just one thing to bear in mind, I think he's a great option when he does play, but obviously carries with it risk. The next player I wanted to talk about, and I also think I mentioned Guardiola previously, who is really popular in the game at the moment. Guardiola has not been as good as an option as I thought he would be. He's not been great from an attacking perspective, and Man City have been shipping goals, whereas Andy Robertson comes in at the same price, has kept 3 clean sheets in 3 games, hasn't conceded a goal, and he hasn't got an attacking return yet, but he's put up some really decent underlying numbers. And the upcoming fixtures for Liverpool look really good. Nottingham Forest at home, Bournemouth at home, Wolves away. Now, those are 3 fixtures where, considering they've kept 3 clean sheets already, those are 3 fixtures where they could quite easily keep another 3, in my mind. And in terms of Robertson versus Trent, Trent being 7 million in the game, Robertson being 6, there's a $1 million price difference between them. Last season, Robertson actually put up better underlying numbers than Trent did in terms of expected goals and expected assists per 90 minutes. And also, I don't think there's too much to read into it. And to be honest, this point might actually benefit Trent, because getting subbed early as a defender actually increases chances of keeping clean sheets and getting clean sheet points. As long as they get subbed off after 60 and they haven't conceded a goal, you lock in the clean sheet. So this might be a kind of counterproductive argument, but it definitely looks like at the moment, if you were to have a list of players that Slot prefers in the Liverpool team, I would definitely say Robertson is above Trent at the moment, just with a couple of hissy fits that Trent has thrown when he's been subbed off. And when you look at the Fantasy Football Hub expected points as well, they obviously look really good for Robertson, but they're also better than what Trent is producing at the moment this season, or what Trent is projected to get. So all of those things combined, $1 million cheaper, better underlying numbers last season. I think he's getting a bigger share of the corners than Trent is as well, I read. He's looking like a really good option, is Robertson. And beyond just Robertson, I think the Liverpool team as a whole are worth looking at in FPL right now. The next 5 fixtures I would consider to be really quite good, both from keeping clean sheets perspective and scoring goals. So you've got the clean sheet odds there for the next 5 from DraftHound, 48% against Forest, 43 against Bournemouth, 39 against Wolves, 38 against Palace, 33 against Chelsea. Usually when I go through these clean sheet odds for my videos, I say I'd be comfortable starting defenders with over 30% clean sheet odds. That would give me a level of confidence that a clean sheet is possible. And in all of their next 5 games, Liverpool have that. They also, of course, haven't conceded a goal yet this season. And when you look at the projected goals, so projected based on AI algorithms and spread betting markets 11 if I do. Struggling to get my words out there, but I think you know what I mean. They're over 2 projected goals in 4 of their next 5 fixtures. And even against Crystal Palace away, it's 1.92, which is basically 2 anyway. So in all of their next 5 fixtures, they're projected to score 2 goals, basically. And you can't score half a goal, right? So you kind of have to do rounding, which means in all of the games, they're projected to score 2 goals. And in some of them, 2 of the 5, they're projected to score 3. So that suggests to me that both from a defensive perspective and an attacking perspective, Liverpool are going to do really well. Now, Ollie Watkins is admittedly one of the most popular players in FPL still, right? But I would say amongst engaged managers, I don't think he is. And again, going back to what I said about Phil Foden, I don't think there are many non-engaged managers that are watching FPL videos on YouTube. So I think it's fair to say mine and your competition in the game doesn't really own Ollie Watkins at the moment, right? And what I like about Watkins, admittedly, he does have a bit of competition now for his spot. So that's one thing to bear in mind. But he's a proven Premier League goal scorer over multiple seasons, right? And this season, he's only got 1 assist, hasn't scored a goal yet, but he's putting up better underlying numbers per 90 minutes than he did last season, where he got, 37 attacking returns, or 38 attacking returns, sorry. No, 37. Yeah, 37 attacking returns from 37 starts. So, and the numbers he's putting up this season are better. So just one thing to bear in mind, I guess, there. He's got a great set of upcoming fixtures. I would actually say it's not necessarily what the FPL fixture difficulty ticker says, but I would say Aston Villa are one of the best teams for upcoming fixtures in the whole league, particularly from an attacking perspective, and we'll get onto that in a second. And Watkins he's a proven Premier League goal scorer across multiple seasons. So he's only played 3 games this season and got 1 assist, right? Not a great set of returns. But in seasons gone by, he has proven to be a solid Premier League striker and a really strong team. I still really like Ollie Watkins as an option. And, considering the fixtures they've got, we all know that fixtures can create form in football and fantasy football, right? So the fixtures he's got, I think, are well set up for him to do well. I really like him as an option still. I touched on Villa as a whole there when I went through Watkins, but genuinely, I think they've got probably from an attacking perspective at least, the best run of 5 fixtures in the Premier League right now. Everton at home, Wolves at home, Ipswich away, Man United at home, and Fulham away. You know, those next 5 fixtures, most of them being at Villa Park, especially like the tougher ones being at Villa Park as well. I think they look really good, and their odds for projected goals, etc., are looking really strong as well. To the likes of Morgan Rogers, for example, obviously Ollie Watkins. Defenders-wise, I'd probably say Konsa is looking really good. Martinez in goal, who I've featured on this profile here. I think Villa are really good for the next 5 game weeks, basically, both from a defensive perspective, although I definitely wouldn't say, you know, you'd bank on a clean sheet every game for Villa, because they are a team that ship goals, but those fixtures are looking nice. And the projected goals are also looking really good. And again, if you do your rounding, because you can't score half a goal, in each of their next 5 fixtures, they're going to score 2 goals according to those projections. So that means there's goals for your Aston Villa players should you pick them. Yeah, let me know actually in the comments who your favourite Aston Villa assets are. One player I have noticed this week that has been garnering a bit of attention is Leif Davis of Ipswich. Last season in the Championship, he was by far in a way the best defender from an attacking perspective. I would compare him, if you remember Alfie Doughty of Luton last season, I would kind of compare him as a like-for-like player with him. He's been garnering quite a bit of attention. A lot of people I've seen on Twitter saying that he is a player that people should be targeting. Fantasy Football Hub here have put up a statistic as well. I'm not too sure about that, I've got to say. I don't like picking defenders from teams that aren't very good defensively. And one thing I have also seen as well, there was a tweet from Fantasy Premier League themselves this week, tweeted on September the 4th. They were suggesting that Ipswich have the most favourable fixture run for the next 6 game weeks, right? So they've got Brighton away, which is classed as a green fixture. Southampton away, which I would agree is a green fixture. Aston Villa at home, which is grey, tough. West Ham away, Everton at home, and Brentford away. I would question that. You know, I don't think Brighton away is a green fixture. I don't think West Ham away is a green fixture, and I don't think Brentford away is a green fixture. Right now, based on what we've seen in the Premier League so far, I think some of those fixtures are a lot tougher than what FPL are suggesting. So if you're considering Leif Davis, which you might well be, just be a little bit hesitant about it, basically. I know he's got some real attacking potential, right? He basically plays as a winger for them when he's in defence, right? But again, I would be hesitant about picking defenders from teams that don't keep clean sheets, because picking a defender where you're consistently reliant on attacking returns, I just don't think is productive in FPL. Just my opinion though. Let me know what you think of that in the comments. Alright, and that's the end of the video. I hope you found that useful. Bit of a sort of filler buy and avoid video, I guess, during the international break. There's plenty still to happen. You know, some teams haven't even played a single game yet during the international break. Others have played 1, some have even played 2 already. So there's plenty more news, things to come out, etc. But I thought I'd just fill the gap with an extra video for you guys with some latest news on João Pedro and updates on teams to target, players to buy, etc. So if you enjoyed it and found it useful, please leave me a like rating. Let me know in the comments, you know, what you think of those pick suggestions that I've recommended there. And you could subscribe to the Goal to Goal channel, which should be just there on your screen if you want to see more content from me. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you in my next video.